You start with a broom and bad measurements and end signing six-figure draws where one casual promise can wipe out the job. At the top, you are carrying permits, payroll, lawsuits, schedules, and a reputation that can support well over $160,000 a year. Level 1. The Cleanup Kid. You are 18, maybe 20, standing in a half-framed house with a trash bag in one hand and a magnetic roller in the other, hunting nails in the mud because the client has children. You think construction is about swinging a hammer. It is not. At first, it is about being useful without slowing anybody down. You haul drywall scraps, stack 2x4s, sweep sawdust off fresh subfloor, and learn fast that nobody cares how motivated you are if you vanish when it starts raining. You are making maybe $15 to $20 an hour, depending on the market. You go home filthy, proud, and sore in places you did not know existed. Your first tools are cheap. Tape measure, utility knife, speed square, hammer, pencil, boots. The first humiliation comes early. Miss a measurement by half an inch and the whole room knows. Forget floor protection on a finished surface and the superintendent does not need to yell. The look is enough. What you really absorb is tempo. The framer moves fast because material was staged right. The plumber is angry because the holes landed wrong. The electrician is early, which means everyone else is late. You start to see that a house is not built by one expert. It is built by trades tripping over each other in a highly organized mess. If you can survive that mess and still show up tomorrow, somebody lets you do more. Level 2, the apprentice carpenter. Now you get a tool belt instead of just a broom. You are probably 21 to 24. You are cutting blocking, setting doors, hanging cabinets, installing trim, fixing backing, and discovering how crooked real houses can be. This is where a lot of future residential general contractors are quietly created. Carpentry sits in the middle of everything. You touch structure, finish, layout, punch work, and other people's mistakes. You believe skill means making beautiful cuts. It partly does, but the hard lesson is production. The quiet carpenter beside you can finish a room before you finish adjusting your saw. Your tools get more expensive fast. Circular saw, drill and impact driver set, levels, sawhorses, maybe a used compressor and a finish nailer. Suddenly you have $3,000 to $6,000 tied up in tools and still feel under-equipped. Pay moves up too, maybe $20 to $30 an hour, sometimes more in expensive markets. The bigger raise is trust. A lead tells you to finish the punch list while he meets an inspector. A homeowner asks a question and you learn that your answer can accidentally become a promise. That is dangerous. You start saying, I need to check with the lead, because residential work runs on casual conversations that later become expensive memories. You also notice who actually controls the site, not the loudest person, the one with the schedule, permit card, subcontractor contacts, and authority to stop work. That is the next door. Level 3. The crew lead. You are 25 to 30, still carrying tools, but now you are carrying other people's mistakes too. The morning starts with coffee and 3 problems already waiting. One laborer is late. The tile delivery is wrong. The drywall crew wants to know if the house is really ready. You tell yourself this is still just construction. It is not. It is now construction plus coordination. Maybe you make $28 to $35 an hour, or roughly $60,000 to $75,000 a year on salary. Not life-changing money, but enough to feel the difference. You are laying out tasks, checking material counts, reading plans more carefully, and explaining to a new kid why close enough is how callbacks are born. That is the small cruelty of getting better. The more competent you become, the less time you spend doing the satisfying hands-on work you liked. Your tools shift, blueprints under your arm, laser level, markup app on your phone, photo folders, group texts, shared calendar. You start documenting everything because construction problems often begin with 2 people hearing different versions of the same sentence. Somebody says the vanity should move 3 inches. Fine. Who approved it? What does it affect? And who is paying for it? Then you meet the emotional side of residential work. The homeowner walks through at dusk and asks why the window does not match the rendering. You explain structure, headers, field conditions, existing walls. They hear only this, not what I pictured. That moment teaches you the trade is not only lumber and finishes. It is expectation, budget fear, marriage stress, and dream management. If you can handle that without losing your cool, supervision starts calling. Level 4, the assistant superintendent. You are around 30, and your truck becomes a rolling office. Hard hat on the seat, plans in the back, charger cords everywhere, permit packet clipped to a board, fast food receipts breeding in the cup holder. You are not the boss yet, but you are the one opening the gate, walking the inspector, and taking blame when the slab pour, the truss delivery, and the rain arrive on the same day. This is where the outside stereotype dies. People imagine a residential contractor is just a hammer with a business card. At this level, it feels more like air traffic control with mud. You may make around $70,000 to $90,000 a year depending on region and builder size. You start learning code and compliance because vibes are not a building standard. Setbacks, rough inspection sequence, smoke detector placement, stair geometry, guardrail details, energy rules. Every jurisdiction also has its own local weirdness. You begin to understand why experienced builders are always checking the latest code notes instead of trusting memory. Safety becomes real too. A 10-hour or 30-hour occupational safety course helps, not because it turns you into a hero, but because one fall, one trench mistake, one uninsured injury can wreck a company. You also meet paperwork in its final form: lien waivers, insurance certificates, scope sheets, purchase orders, revised selections, updated schedules. Nobody gets into construction for spreadsheets. Eventually, spreadsheets decide whether you eat. Once you see how poor communication, missed paperwork, and schedule slippage can burn more money than broken tools, you stop thinking like a carpenter and start thinking like a contractor. Level 5. The project manager in boots. You are 32 to 38, and now you live between the site and a laptop. Maybe you are running custom homes, large remodels, or several houses at once. This is where you finally see the money and realize how fake big contract numbers can look. A client hears their project costs $400,000 and assumes you are printing cash. Then you open the budget: labor, materials, dumpsters, permits, temporary power, insurance, supervision, warranty reserve, subcontractor invoices. The glamorous pile of money starts disappearing in public. Residential contractors often charge 10 to 20% depending on the contract structure, but actual net profit can be thin, roughly 1.5 to 5% for many firms. That changes your brain. A $5,000 mistake hurts on any job. On a thin margin job, it can erase the whole win. Your pay may land around $80,000 to $110,000, maybe with bonuses. National pay estimates vary a lot, but six figures becomes realistic when you can manage budgets, schedules, and people without letting the whole thing drift into chaos. Your tools now are estimating software, accounting reports, cloud plan sets, scheduling apps, and your contact list, the reliable framer, the electrician who answers, the cabinet supplier who fixes errors before they become lawsuits. This is also where you meet your first true enemy: scope creep. The homeowner says, "While we're at it," and every experienced contractor hears a cash register and a grenade at the same time. You learn the hard rule: change orders must be written, priced, signed, and filed. Otherwise, you are donating nights and weekends to somebody else's dream kitchen. Once you get good here, people stop asking if you can build. They ask when you are going out on your own. Level 6. The licensed residential general contractor. This is the doorway, and it is not romantic. It is bureaucratic. You file the business. You meet state and local licensing rules. You prove experience if your jurisdiction requires it. You get the bond if required. You line up general liability insurance and, depending on how you operate, workers' compensation coverage. You make sure a client can verify your license and insurance status online. You are probably in your mid-30s or early 40s now. You sign your first contract under your own name and feel your stomach tighten. When you were an employee, mistakes were embarrassing. Now, mistakes can become legal. Income gets weird here. Some owner-operators pay themselves something modest at first, maybe $60,000 to $100,000 if the business can support it. Revenue can look huge on paper while cash flow feels terrifying. You may have $200,000 under contract and still sweat payroll because draws have not arrived, the client is waiting on the bank, or money is tied up in materials already delivered. You learn to read people as closely as plans. The charming client can become the slow payer. The cheap subcontractor can become the most expensive person on the site. Your day becomes permit counters, supplier accounts, subcontract agreements, site visits, and evening panic calls. You learn about liens because failing to pay a trade on time can create a problem attached to the house itself. You learn about warranty work because a tiny leak behind a vanity can become a giant accusation. You learn to document everything with photos, signed approvals, meeting notes, and text threads because memory is a terrible contract. If you survive the first few jobs without underbidding yourself into the ground, you discover the next level is not building homes. It is building a company. Level 7, the builder with a system. Now you are not just licensed. You are repeatable. You have branded trucks, or at least signs that no longer look temporary. You have a bookkeeper, maybe an office manager, maybe a superintendent under you, maybe a spouse quietly handling more administrative triage than anybody admits. This is the level where you start looking successful from the outside and feeling permanently interrupted on the inside. You might be overseeing several remodels at once or a pipeline of custom homes. Personal income can move into roughly $120,000 to $180,000 in strong markets if the business is healthy, though it can swing hard with debt, bad jobs, and volume. The average salary number people quote does not really describe this stage. Your income depends on how well you price risk and how fast you solve chaos. The day is less glamorous than people imagine. You are outside City Hall correcting permit comments, then at a showroom calming a couple who just learned walnut costs more than expected, then at a site staring at a foundation problem that may cost $20,000 in 3 weeks, then back at your desk reviewing draws, payroll, insurance renewals, and a change order that still is not signed even though the work is already done. You know better. You did it anyway because the schedule was tight. What you learn here is culture. The best subcontractors choose who they work for. If you communicate clearly, pay fairly, and do not jerk people around, better crews make your job smoother. If you are chaotic, the good trades disappear and leave you with discount disasters. Your reputation starts compounding. So do your mistakes, then you face a serious question. Stay a strong local operator or scale into something bigger and riskier. Level 8. The firm owner. You are in your 40s or 50s now, and the job splits in two. One half is still construction. The other half is business architecture. You are hiring project managers, replacing trucks, negotiating credit lines, tightening contracts, checking insurance audits, and deciding whether to chase larger custom homes, major additions, or design-build work. You are less likely to carry a nail gun and more likely to carry everybody's payroll in your head. Revenue can climb into the millions. Personal income can exceed $160,000 in a strong operation and sometimes more. But this is where outsiders get fooled again. Bigger volume does not automatically mean a richer owner. Residential contracting can stay brutally thin on profit even at scale. One lawsuit, one runaway job, or one market slowdown can still hurt badly. That is why systems matter more than hustle now. You know your numbers: gross profit by job, overhead burn, warranty reserve, outstanding payments, marketing cost. Which project manager makes money? Which one wins pretty jobs that bleed in the back office? You use project management software, accounting systems, digital selections boards, and cloud documentation because memory and handshakes cannot run this level. The emotional cost changes too. Early on, you missed dinner because you were hanging doors. Now you miss dinner because 2 employees are fighting, a client is threatening to post online, and the insurance agent wants updated certificates by morning. You built freedom and discovered it came with 20 new forms of responsibility. Still, if you do it well, people in town start saying your company name the way you once said your old boss's name. That is status. The final level is what you do with it. Level 9, the name on the sign. At the end, nobody is asking whether you can build a house. They assume that already. The real question is whether your name means trust. You may own a respected residential building firm, run multiple superintendents and project managers, specialize in high-end homes, or even move into development so you build your own projects instead of only serving clients. You are the person banks call back, architects refer, and wealthy homeowners wait for. Your income may come as salary plus profit distributions, and in very strong years it can exceed $200,000 or much more. But the more important number is business value. A company with clean books, repeat referrals, strong supervisors, documented systems, and a stable brand can become something saleable instead of something that dies when you take a week off. The scene here is quieter than beginners expect. You are at a conference table signing a contract where the construction fee alone is more than your first year of wages, or reviewing an offer to buy part of the company, or walking a finished house at sunset, touching a stair rail, hearing only the hum of air conditioning, and remembering when you used to sweep nails out of mud for hourly pay. And the last lesson is the one nobody tells the cleanup kid. Residential general contracting is not really about building dreams. It is about carrying risk for other people's dreams without dropping it. Code risk, safety risk, schedule risk, financial risk, reputation risk. You start with a broom, a cheap tape measure, and the need to prove you are useful. If you climb all the way up, the tape measure gets nicer, the truck gets newer, the numbers get bigger, and your name opens doors. But every promise weighs more.